Use female dummies in crash testing. Use female dummies in crash testing.
All right,
Use
stop it.
female
Stop
dummies
it.
in
Stop
crash
it. Cut it.
testing.
Cut it. Okay, we obviously have a little more work to do on that thing.
In Navajo culture, the Skinwalker is considered to be a powerful and dangerous witch or sorcerer who has gained their powers by breaking cultural taboos.
So there's a racial component to this, and that's part of the problem, as I understand it. Then is that the issue?
Well, again, I understand this is a really sensitive issue to some people. Some people may think I'm some kind of racist for even saying this, but it's just not fair to the other kids. That's all I can say. It's just not fair to the kids.
You're listening to the Junior Birdman Podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Junior Birdman Podcast. I am your host, the Junior Birdman. Today's going to be a jam-packed show. We got a bunch of information to throw at you, a bunch of entertainment to throw at you. We're going to start off with, I think, one of the most cutting-edge things I've seen in the technology field lately. This is an AI bot we've developed ourselves. This is a AI bot that goes out and gathers news information, collectively puts it into a news broadcast with video feed, with commentary, with everything. And we spent a lot of time on the back end working on this. We're going to debut it today. We think that's pretty interesting. We're also going to show you some sports, some weather, some traffic. You know, we don't have a huge budget here, so we're going to show you what we have put together with the budget we have. As you know, we're not a huge show like everybody else, but we think we worked pretty hard and put together some pretty cool stuff for you that we're going to demo. And then later on, we have a segment with our producer, Amy, who's going to be talking about the first segment in this week's series on U.S. myths, legends, and monsters. And she'll have a series on that we'll talk about. And then after that, we're going to have an interview with a man in the community who's going through some struggles. And this is in honor of Chuck Cooper, who 73 years ago today was the first black man drafted in the NBA. And we're going to talk to a man who's going through some similar struggles today in his community, which is surprising. And that should be quite interesting. We're going to get started first by debuting and demoing this AI bot for you. Now, again, we put a lot of time, a lot of effort into this. It's very cutting edge technology. We think it should work pretty well. We've worked out a lot of the bugs, a few things, hiccups here and there that may happen. But overall, I think it does a pretty good job. And I know it uses a lot of the digital technology, AI advanced technology, but it's also tied to a lot of analog technology. So that's why it's very hard to kind of tie a lot of that technology together. But you'll see it when we show it to you. It looks pretty cool, though. Are we ready to go ahead and show this thing now? Do we think it's going to work?
It should be okay. It has worked. You've seen it, though. Sometimes it skips.
It might get stuck, but it should be okay. The load's pretty low right now, even with the show running.
All right, cool. Well, I can't wait to see what it does. Let's go ahead and see it.
The critical funding that would accelerate the development of the use of female dummies in crash testing. Use 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 female dummies in crash testing.
All right,
Use
stop it.
female
Stop
dummies
it.
in
Stop
crash
it. Cut it.
testing.
Cut it. Okay, we obviously have a little more work to do on that thing. Looks like it's just getting stuck again and repeating. Let's go ahead and move on to sports with our new sports guy, Steg. Steg, take it away.
Yes, you see here now, this man, he comes, he gives now to this man and this is amazing. Okay, now we see in this play, the man has the ball, he comes, and oh, what a phenomenal play he makes here. Phenomenal play. And here we see another, there is a lot of movement, we see a lot of things happening, and there you go. This is amazing. Yes, and here are some of the scores from the weekend. These are some amazing scores from the weekend.
And Steg, the fans can expect more of this through the week, is that right?
Yes, they can expect more amazing plays through the week and things like this, and more of these amazing players making some more of these amazing plays as we watch through the week.
All right, thank you, Steg. All right, let's move on to traffic with our hawk in the sky, Ethan. Ethan, what do you got for us?
Good afternoon, Birdman. I'm in rubber traffic right now on the main highways leading into the city. Northbound lanes behind 94 where we're backed up for miles, causing delays for about an hour. Same story, westbound lane of I-6 where there's an accident involving tractor trailer and a sedan caused a complete shutdown there. That backup extends all the way to the exit over an I-80 Woodward Exchange. You're headed towards the airport. Be sure and give yourself plenty of extra time. There's an accident over on Route 11 Street near the airport causing a lot of delays. There's also some traffic lights out over on the road causing a lot of backups as well. So make sure if you're heading out to the city, be very safe today, folks. This is Ethan Hawk of the Sky for the Junior Birdman Podcast.
Thank you, Ethan. Let's get an update on the weather with our weather reporter, Tucker. Tucker?
If you don't know what the weather is like, then all you have to do is look outside. Maybe even go outside. You ever think of that?
Is everything okay with Tucker? He seems like he's a little bit upset. Something going on? All right. We'll be right back, folks, after this message.
How often do you struggle with a dirty, filthy floor? Well, not anymore. Just tune into the Junior Birdman podcast and your dirty floor gets washed away. At least until the show's over.
Our series this week covers myths, monsters, and legends historically in the United States, and our producer Amy has done a lot of work on this on the back end. She's joining us on the front side of the show for the first time. Amy, welcome to the Junior Birdman podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. Now, I know you've done a lot of work. You're going to be working on these all week. And what have you got for us in store for us today?
Today we're talking about skinwalkers.
Okay, I've heard of the Skinwalker, so can't wait to hear what you got for us. Let's go ahead and get into it.
The Skinwalker is a legendary creature from Native American folklore, particularly among the Navajo people. According to legend, a Skinwalker is a shapeshifter who has the ability to transform into any animal they desire. In Navajo culture, the Skinwalker is considered to be a powerful and dangerous witch or sorcerer who has gained their powers by breaking cultural taboos. They are said to use their abilities to harm others, often by impersonating animals or people and then attacking or causing chaos. Many people who claim to have seen the Skinwalker describe it as a large humanoid figure with glowing eyes that seem to follow you wherever you go. Some also claim to have heard unexplained howls or seen strange lights in the sky that they associate with the creature. According to legend, encountering a Skinwalker can be dangerous as they're said to have the ability to read your thoughts and manipulate your emotions. They're also believed to have the power to curse or even kill their victims. Despite the fact that the Skinwalker is primarily a Navajo legend, it has gained popularity throughout the United States and has been the subject of many books, movies, TV shows. Some people even claim to have encountered Skinwalkers themselves. Whether or not the Skinwalker is a real creature remains a mystery. It's certainly fascinating and an eerie part of American Native folklore and remains a powerful and unknown, unexplained mystery that we can all enjoy.
Well, I think you really did a great job on this one, Amy. We appreciate you putting the time and effort to this, and thanks for joining us here on the Junior Birdman podcast.
Thank you. Goodbye.
We'll be right back with our interview.
This is Morgan Freeman with This Day in American History, telling you to tune in every day to the Junior Birdman podcast. It's the kind of laughter, comedy, enjoyment, and fulfillment that made this nation great. The Junior Birdman podcast. Tune in 5 days a week.
Welcome back to the podcast. Our guest, Joe, joins us now. And as I understand it, Joe, you have some issues with some of the people that are playing in the local basketball league with your own children, as I understand it. Do I have it right, or what's the situation there?
I understand that this is a very uncomfortable subject. And I'm not a racist. I'm not racist against anyone of any color. I'm not against anyone doing anything they can to better themselves. I just worry about the kids. I want to make that clear.
Okay, well, I understand. Tell us what happened. What's going on there?
We live in a very wealthy neighborhood. The folks here are all very well off. Most of us know each other. I won't say we're in each other's lives. We're not like housewives of Beverly Hills here or anything. But we are familiar with each other, and it's a very comfortable neighborhood, and we've had a basketball league for about 6 years now. It's for kids 8 to 15. We've got 3 leagues. It's all for the kids.
So it's actually 3 leagues, not just 1 league. Okay.
Yes, so there's a tot league for kids 8, 9, and 10. Then there's the elves division for 11 and 12-year-olds. Then the teen division is the 13 and 14-year-olds. Some of the kids get into 15 depending on what their birthday is. That's the 3 divisions.
I understand. So what's the issue? What's going on? What's the problem?
Well, the league's been operating fine. There's been no complaints. As I said, we all chat amongst each other kind of often. And in the last year, this new family's moved in, and they have 2 kids. One of them's an 8-year-old. The other just turned 11. And these kids decided that they're going to join the league. And let's just say it's been an adjustment, not one that's been well accepted by the bulk of the community.
So there's a racial component to this, and that's part of the problem, as I understand it. Then is that the issue?
Well, again, I understand this is a really sensitive issue to some people. Some people may think I'm some kind of racist for even saying this, but it's just not fair to the other kids. That's all I can say. It's just not fair to the kids.
So these kids come into the league, and they're great players, obviously. So I don't understand what the big deal is.
You have to see these kids. These kids have natural talents, let's just say, talents and skills that make them different, make them stand out clearly from the other kids in the league. And it's not just because they look different. I don't want to get into that racist stuff. It's clear these kids have talents that's associated with a stigma in their culture. It's the same kind of thing, the same kind of stigma basketball has, the same thing Chuck Cooper went through when he was the first one to break through in the NBA in 1950. They're all the first, and these kids are also the first. It makes people uncomfortable, but it's clear that these kids have talents that are associated with the stigma about how they look in basketball, all tying together. It's very uncomfortable for people. Change is not easy for everyone to deal with, Birdman. That was the case with Chuck Cooper in 1950, and it's what we're going through right now.
You use the phrase natural talents. You think they have skills that other kids...
It sounds like you're trying to tie me into that racist stuff again. Birdman, I'm not trying to take anything away from these kids. Don't make me sound like I'm some kind of racist. I know they worked hard. I know their dad coaches them. He played basketball in college. I've talked to this man many times. He's a very nice gentleman. Even he understands the situation. His kids are not used to playing with kids from other cultures either. His kids are not used to coming in and dominating kids that look different from them. He's not used to coming in here and having to teach his kids how to learn from other communities where basketball is not as popular of an aspect as it is in their culture. He understands that. They're used to playing with kids who look like them too, who have similar skill sets and talent levels. So they do not feel like they stand out so much in those communities, but now they're in a situation where they do. It's bad enough that they look different, but now having to deal with this makes it hard for them in school, makes it hard for the other kids to enjoy each other together, to enjoy basketball together. It's just a big mess.
You said the father of these kids coached them, and you said he played in college. Why wouldn't he just be able to coach the other kids in the league potentially, and just improve everybody's skill level at the youth basketball?
Well, in the long term, there's no doubt that our league will get better as a result of this, just like the NBA got better because of Chuck Cooper. I think it's just one of those things where, again, people are afraid of change. I mean, these kids are really dominating, you know? I mean, the 8-year-old scored 48 points the other night. The 11-year-old's already dunking the ball. I know it's a shorter rim, but, I mean, he's already taking flight from the foul line and slamming. I mean, It's just tough for these kids. He's pushing the ball down the court, and he's slamming the ball in the face of these kids. I mean, he's over the rim and slamming the ball down. He looks like an NBA star out there. These other kids are looking around confused, looking like stupid little goats wandering around the pasture, wonder what world they just walked into, watching somebody who doesn't even look like them do things that they couldn't have even imagined doing before, being able to do them with such ease and such grace. I don't think that those kids think that they have the physical skills or abilities to be able to do that. I mean, it would take so long to develop the physical kind of abilities to take flight like this boy does and then jam the ball down. I know we're considering moving these children up to a higher level because, like the 8-year-old, we're going to maybe move him up to the L division because he's so dominant, and then we're going to move the other child up to the teen division where it seems like his talents are more suitable, although I believe he'll dominate in those divisions as well. But we're trying to do what we can to balance things out in the face of some very difficult challenges, very difficult times for not only our league, but our community in general, and trying to figure out what we can do for these kids. Our concern, again, Birdman, is the kids. We're trying to do what's fair and what's best for these kids. Now, whether or not this man is able to coach the kids in our league or will ultimately make our kids play as well as, I don't know. Maybe that's a chance. But something in his culture perhaps is there as well. Something perhaps he can pass on to the children of our culture beyond just the physical capabilities it seems like that his culture and the people in his world exist to have. And our kids just don't seem to be those kind of talents and skills. So it's just vastly different. These kids see him, and these kids are so vastly different. I'm not sure we're going to be able to get younger kids to even go along with being coached. They're so far behind, but certainly some changes have to be made so that we can adjust and adapt in this world. We have to do whatever it takes to make sure our kids grow up in the world where they don't get frustrated, where they don't see these other cultures and become frustrated because things are changing around them too. You know, it's tough for kids as well, you know, but they're trying to get used to change just like we all are here in this community.
I'm really surprised, Joe, that it's really like that. I mean, is everybody in the community just white people, or
No, we've got a lot of diversity in this community. There's an Arab fellow who lives right across the street from me. There's a fellow from India who lives a couple doors down, and another Native American fellow who lives next door to him. We got a gentleman from Iran who lives a few doors down from me. We've got another fellow, I believe, from Mexico, a couple doors down. We've got even a couple of black families who live a few doors down. No, we have a lot of diversity in our community. This is not a matter of everyone here. Why all of a sudden somebody new comes in and breaks it all up. It's not like we're living in the 1940s and Chuck Cooper came into our world, you know. No, we already have diversity in the community. That's not really the problem. This is just a little problem for us to figure out the situation we're trying to figure out how to deal with. That's all.
So is it that none of the black families in the community have their children playing basketball? Is that why this seems like such an unusual time?
Oh, yeah. We have all kinds of black kids in our league. We have a couple of black kids right down the street here. One plays in the teen division. One plays in the L division. So we don't have a problem with that. Like I said, it's a very diverse league. We have Indian. We have Indian kids also playing in the league, like I told you, up the street there. A lot of diversity in the league already. We just never had somebody like this join the league, and it's been a little uncomfortable for everybody.
So this wouldn't be the first black player in the league. I'm not understand what's
No. These are the first Asian kids to join the league, and you know the stigma associated with Asians and basketball, and all the kids know it too. So this is just something we're going to have to get used to around here. It's not these kids' fault. We certainly don't blame the families or the kids. They're living their dream. It's really our fault. We just have to get used to it and try to overcome the whole stereotype our community, the people have, when they think of Asians and basketball.
What stereotype would... Chuck Cooper was a black guy, the first black man to be drafted into the NBA.
And these are the first Asians to play in our junior league. It's exactly the same, Birdman.
Okay, I guess I didn't know that there was a stigma, and I still don't know what the big deal is.
Well, you're right. It shouldn't be a big deal. Nobody should look at these kids any differently than the way we look at other kids playing basketball in our league. It's just a long-time stigma everybody associates with Asians and basketball. Everybody knows that the stigma exists. You try and look away, you try to ignore it, you're just trying to hide from the problem. We're trying to address the problem directly. Everybody knows that Asians have dominated basketball ever since Yao Ming joined the league in 2002, and we're trying to just overcome that. We're trying to have our children not see that as something that's going to hold them back from playing good basketball, not having them fear that their little league is now going to be dominated as well by Asians that are going to push them completely out of the game because the skill set of these kids. You see an Asian kid taking flight from the foul line and slamming the ball down. The other day, the 8-year-old slammed the ball and took the rim and the entire backboard down with him. Now, when you see that as an 8-year-old, that's going to be tough to overcome. It's going to be hard for you to think that you're ever going to be good enough to dominate the game the way these kids do, and it leaves you with a lot of fear in your heart. But we're trying to have these kids understand that they can be just as good, they can be just as talented if they work hard, if they try to adjust, they can overcome, and that this is very similar to what the NBA had to community had to go through when Yao Ming broke the barrier in 2002, and I think we're just trying to adjust in the same way.
I remember Yao Ming, and he was a great player, but you're saying that Asians are dominating the NBA now?
Well, everybody tries to hide from the stereotype. You walk by and you see an Asian kid and you think, well, I bet he has a great crossover. I bet he can get a jump shot from the outside. I bet he'll break your kneecaps going to the rim and putting the ball through the hoop. That's what everybody thinks when they see an Asian child, and we're trying to break that stereotype. I know it's been difficult for Asians for a long time to try to break that stereotype as well. Asians are capable of doing much more than just playing basketball well. And I think we're trying to teach kids a lesson about that. Everyone is an individual. People are individuals. We're trying to teach these children that lesson, a real life lesson about this.
I just never heard of Asians dominating the NBA. That I don't know of a whole bunch of Asians.
You got Jordan Clarkson, you got Hachimura, you got Tua Toby, you've got Tua Natabe, of course you got the famous Yao Ming, you've got the dominating Jeremy Lin, you've got some of the more popular ones like Sung Yang and ZZ and Menke Peter and Utah Tabuzi. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, people get very resentful of how the league has changed and was dominated by Asians ever since Yao Ming broke it in 2002. And I think a lot of people back then in the NBA were bitter about allowing Asian men into the league, knowing it would change the league in a very profound way, which it did. And I think once he broke through, people began to realize, and since then, some men have still resented that change, but these Asian men have come to believe it dominated the league, and you don't need to go far to hear an Asian superstar in the NBA. And, you know, whenever anybody talks about the NBA, those are the kind of names that just pour out of their head. Everybody knows all the Asian superstars.
I've definitely heard of some of those guys, but usually when somebody talks about NBA stars, they talk about somebody like a LeBron James.
Who's that?
Maybe.
I've never heard of him.
LeBron James? You've never heard of LeBron James?
No, I've never heard of him. Was he some kind of a music star or something?
He's only like maybe the greatest basketball player in the game today by some people's standards, compared maybe to Jordan as perhaps the best ever in the game.
There's no debate there. Jordan Clarkson is by far the greatest of all time. I mean, come on, 661 games, averaging 16 points a game, 2.7 assists, 3.4 rebounds.
No.
That's dominating, Birdman. Those are the kind of stats the league has never seen before. These are the kind of stats to make other players envious. That's the kind of career other players can only dream of having.
I was talking about Michael Jordan, Joe, not...
Who was that?
Michael Jordan? Maybe just the greatest basketball player that ever played the game?
Well, it doesn't ring a bell, and maybe he's one of the more obscure players. I mean, I don't live my life looking at basketball stats like you do. I'm out here trying to help a group of young kids get through a very tough time. I know you're very deep in the weeds about these small figures that we can pull out obscurely to try and refute this, but clearly everyone knows the stereotype, everyone knows it exists. We're just fighting hard to try and overcome it.
Well, I don't know if I'd say Michael Jordan is an obscure reference in basketball, but I do wish you luck in this effort, Joe, and good luck out there.
Thank you again for having me, and I hope the other kids out there who are not Asian do realize that they can still play basketball just as well as an Asian kid does. Just keep practicing, keep trying, never get up, and you'll get there too.
Did you say never get up?
I meant never give up, but I mean, sometimes you do never want to get up.
All right. Well, thanks again, Joe. I hope everything works. I hope you have a great summer out there, too, with the basketball league.
Just wait till next month when the Iranian kid wants to join the swim team. Well, you know what everybody thinks about Iranians and swimming. Oh, God, it's going to be a whole nother catastrophe.
All right. Well, thanks again, Joe. Appreciate you joining us.
Thanks again, and take care.
Thank you for listening to the Junior Birdman Podcast. Be sure to like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell to be alerted when new videos are posted.